What's going on, everybody? This Afro think tank. Now, there's been a wave of coon-ass content creators, all right, who's making a big deal in complaining that somehow Ghana is throwing us under the bus for accepting the apology from the Pope for their participation in the transatlantic slave trade. Somehow, these FBA, who are not even African, by the way, they're Native American. I don't even know why they even are in black people business. Be honest, I don't know why they're in us African people business. But these FBA, these foundational black Americans who are tethered to white supremacy and white institutions, love white people and have forgiven all white people for every single atrocity that they have ever committed, and to this day tolerate all the atrocities and institutions at which those same white people place upon us, and are very satisfied with living and coping with those institutions in the situations they find themselves in. But they have all the smoke for the Africans who were coerced and forced to participate in the transatlantic slave trade, clearly not knowing what it is they were selling their opposition, their ops. They're selling their other nations of enemy combatants into what they thought was a domestic indentured servitude that is common in Africa after conflict, because people are finite resources. Therefore, if I have to go to war with you for whatever reason, and I lose this many men, and I capture your men are not going to go to a federally funded or privately funded jail. That's a new thing, to produce products and goods for rich people in suits, but they're going to work for the empire or the kingdom or the nation or the village that they were previously at war with, recouping and helping to utilize their capabilities of being alive and human beings to benefit that community. And in turn, they will also be members of that community, maintain their humanity, and be able to work for their freedom, or to work to be released from the bondage that they found themselves in after losing a war against the people they either were invading or fighting with for any reason. The same thing that happened in every single country on the planet, because we didn't have jails. So you had to do something with the people that mean to do you harm. Reparative justice, right? So since these kingdoms didn't know that, right, they were selling them into a barbaric, savage, subhuman chattel slavery system created by white Europeans, right? Since these clown FBA know-nothing idiots, they got a lot to say, but nothing in their heads, come online and get mad at Ghana because saying, oh, well, Ghana participated, how can they receive an apology? These are the same know-nothing, do-nothing Negroes that have absolutely no idea about how history works and geography works. These are the same idiots that would say, I'm not African, and those African countries that exist today didn't even exist back then. So why are we connected to countries that don't exist? And at the same time trying to say, how come there's countries that exist today are apologizing for slavery when those are the countries that enslaved us? Like idiots. Both those two can't be the same. And because they don't know anything about actual African history, because they don't know anything about their history, right? They assume all of Ghana represents every individual kingdom and tribe that exists today. They think that every single African kingdom and tribe participated in the transatlantic slave trade on a commercial, voluntary level, and it was just something that Africans, they make it seem like Africans were just all excited about selling their greatest and brightest amongst them into the transatlantic slave trade. They make it seem like all of Africa was complicit, right? But those white folks, they weren't complicit. They just pulled up in their boats, and the black people, they just kept putting the Africans in the boat, and we just kept giving them money because they kept giving us these black people. We white people are innocent. As far as FBA is concerned, white people have no culpability in this. They're allowed to treat us, do anything. They're allowed to call us what they want. They're allowed to rename us. They're allowed to tell us where we're from. They're allowed to redistrict us no matter where we are on the planet. They're allowed to own our resources. They're allowed to lie to us. They're allowed to create our curriculum in order to teach us their propaganda. They're allowed to do all that. That's cool with FBA. But Africans, the one or two coons that's actually like them, their kinsmen, their ancestors, right? because some of them saw profit in the selling of other people. You see, they're so stupid and unintelligent, they don't realize that black people never had to be, that we had no concept of blackness until white people created it. So before white people created this thing called blackness, we were all just human beings. If somebody over there, right, did something to me, they was my op. The same way how you FBA niggas got ops in America and y'all wear different colors and you kill each other because of it. The same way you sitting here calling, I'm gonna delineate, right, creating a tribe, being tribalistic, being xenophobic on purpose because you think you some sort of special Negro, right? Creating words like flat black, like that shit fucking exists. No such thing as a flat black. There's not a flat black on the planet. There's nothing unexciting and normal about black people. We are exceptional and we are exorbitant and we are excellent. And no matter what iteration you put us in, no matter what language we speak, no matter what culture it is, we are all exceptional. So anybody coming up with flat black, these are the same people coming up with flat black, they can't get a woman. They're not accepted by the other half of their society, let alone other people. Yet they got the nerve to talk about everybody else as like their God gifts to humanity and social understanding and well-being. Yeah, so don't listen to none of these black people that got a problem with Ghana. Ghana has the right to accept an apology from the Catholic Church. Because us adults know the first thing you do is you allow people who feel like they've done something wrong to apologize. You don't just keep throwing it in their face over and over because guess what? You never get anywhere. Because at some point, they're going to keep apologizing. Some of them are going to mean it. Some of them are going to be saying it because they're pandering. Some of them are going to they're going to read the room and know that they need to pivot. Either way, people, these white folks, these Europeans, know they got to apologize because they see the tables turning. They see where the future is going. They see where the leverage is leaning. They see the colors in the prism. And just like any rational human beings, they know it's time to apologize because they no longer have the leverage to sit in their lies and deceit and think they're going to be okay. Because they're not going to be okay. Despite what you weirdo FPS tethers to white supremacy think and say, white Europeans are a little bit ahead of these white American Europeans, and they know that they need to get shit right with Africa because Africa is the future powerhouse of the world with many points of economic and militaristic and social power. Period. All right? So, I'm glad that Ghana accepted the apology. I'm glad that the Catholic Church, who is integral in the creation of Islam, integral in the creation of Christianity, integral in the spread of death and destruction throughout the world, I'm glad that they apologized, right? Especially since the Pope is a white European American man, which says a lot that this white European American man became the Pope of the Catholic Church and on behalf of all whitendom, just apologize to us. Now, the next step is, what are you going to do? Because we want reparative justice afterwards. And what does that look like? Every African, West African, Central and East was affected by the transatlantic slave trade. And everybody's due some form of reparations one way or another. African Americans are not the only people that were enslaved. And these FBA idiots need to realize that. They display how absolutely unintelligent they are every single time they come on this here internet and run their ignorant mouths about things they don't know about. All you FBA fanboys must be making a ton of money spewing your hate, xenophobia, and obvious lies to the masses. Don't think people are not paying attention to you. That's why y'all views are going down. That's why I see a lot of you fake pro-black, fake pan-African, grifting, xenophobic, snakes in the grass ass idiots are grass-mid straws looking for somebody to beef with. Looking for somebody to say your goddamn name so you can start some beef, make 1,000 videos, and make some money. Because the shit that you say is not popular. The shit that you say ain't carrying no weight. You're just running your mouth, psycho babbling, blah, 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 word salad your way into a YouTube paycheck. That's what you're doing. But in this age of information, people like myself and others are going to make sure that your myths and half-truths will not sit and be the standard of the information which our black people consume for nourishment. All right? Anyway, you guys tell me what you think in the comment section. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn some, teach some. I'm out.
Historic. Pope Leo XIV apologizes for the slave trade. Yes, the slave trade. The government of Ghana has officially welcomed a historic groundbreaking apology from His Holiness Pope Leo XIV over the Catholic Church role in the transatlantic slave trade. The presidency released a statement on Thursday calling it an act of moral courage that changes the game for global justice. Pope Leo XIV formally acknowledged that the Holy See The Vatican historically helped legitimize sustain the enslavement of Africans. For centuries, old papal decrees were used by colonial powers to justify slavery. By confronting this deep historical truth, the Pope is opening the door for real global healing and discussions on reparations. This apology follows UN Resolution A/RES/80/250, which officially declares the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity. Because our coastlines are still lined with forts and castles, the silent witnesses to this dark history, President Mahama has announced that Ghana will host a high-level consultative conference in Accra from June 17 to 19, 2026 to decide the global next steps to historical justice, the powerful impact on we the kids. This isn't just history textbook stuff, it's an incredible lesson for Ghanaian children. How? 1. The power of truth. It teaches kids that no matter how big or powerful you are, even the Vatican, if you make a mistake, having the courage to say I'm sorry is the ultimate sign of leadership and strength. 2. Restoring dignity. It gives the younger generation a renewed sense of pride, showing them that the world is finally recognizing the injustice done to our ancestors and actively trying to correct it.
Caribbean people, the Pope is in the news right now for doing something I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. He has apologized not only for the atrocities of the transatlantic slave trade, but for the Vatican's legitimization. For those who don't know, the Vatican gave the European kingdoms of the day their blessing to go forth and enslave persons in the name of Christianity, to spread the gospel however they deemed fit, and they did, enslaving millions of people in the name of the Lord. With that being said, the Vatican owes us too reparations, not just from Spain, Portugal, from the Netherlands, from Britain, from France, but from the Vatican as well. Okay, bye!
Another chief apologized. Now, do you remember a video I did last when I told you when they came to Africa, it was the queens and the kings who sold us to them. Only Christians, those who converted to Christianity, when our black people, when our kings, our queens, when they became Christians, that was when they start selling black people to their slave masters.
To apologize deeply on behalf of the chiefs and people of Gold Coast and Ghana for the atrocities, the cruelty, the inhuman treatment that were committed 400 years ago by my ancestors during the Atlantic slave trade, where over 400 years ago, millions of our brothers and sisters were captured, sold and transported under inhumane and cruel circumstances through Elmina Castle across to the Caribbeans and to the New World. On behalf of the chiefs, and people of Ghana, I do render unqualified apology.
Only Christians, those who converted to Christianity, when our black people, when our kings, our queens, when they became Christians, that was when they start selling black people to their slave masters.
We need to go to court.
We need to go to court.
Look at this. The Pope made a historic apology for the church's role in legitimizing slavery. He didn't apologize for slavery. He did something bigger. He apologized for the church's role in legitimizing it. In the 1400s, popes issued these decrees called papal bulls. They sent them around to all these European kingdoms, basically saying, you have our authority to enslave people that aren't Christian. This gave Portugal and Spain the moral cover to begin what we know as chattel slavery. In the 1440s and 1450s, Portugal began kidnapping and purchasing enslaved Africans. But in 1452, Portugal started its first sugarcane plantation on the island of Madeira. It was the first time enslaved Africans were used on an industrial scale to produce a cash crop. This is also where we begin to see Christopher Columbus and Spanish explorers begin to go to North and South America and the Caribbean, enslaving and ending the lives of thousands of indigenous people. The transatlantic slave trade would have never happened if the church did not authorize it.
It is very surprising to see how times are changing right now. But again, we have to ask this serious question. Why is Pope Leo, this 2026, is apologizing for Catholic Church for the involvement they made during the slave trade of Africans? They brought the Bible to Africa. I mean, they twisted the Bible. They edited the Bible, where they changed the authors, where they changed the name of the kingdoms, where they changed the maps, where they changed everything. We know for sure that everything about that Bible, it was all about a black man, the reign, the power of a black man. If you have somebody who have read all the books that were written by King Solomon, the books that were written by King David, including Abraham himself, you'll find out that these people, they were actually black people. But when they got all our religious books in all our largest libraries in Africa, during the slave trade, during the colonialism, they went there, edited everything. Remember that these people, when they came to Africa, they first targeted those Africans which were highly advanced in terms of education. They destroyed all those great kingdoms that were more influential in the globe before they came for the small countries. Now, the same people, after they have taken everything in Africa, they went there to edit everything. And they even used our own books, our own knowledge to enslave us. And right now, they are coming to apologize to all the Africans that what they did, it was wrong. Why now? What has happened, or what is he seeing coming ahead? It is a very serious question that we really don't need to ignore. We need these answers. First of all, it was France that came out to apologize to Africans. And later, the case went to the UN, and they apologized. Some of them, they apologized to Africans. At the same time, right now, the Pope of the Catholic Church, he is seriously apologizing for the involvement of church in the slave trade of Africa. It is very crazy, my people, but again, we have to ask, what have they seen coming that we don't know? That this is now everybody is letting all their ego, is letting everything that stopped them apologize to Africans all that long time when our ancestors were killed, when our ancestors were being persecuted. This 2026 is when they come out to apologize. Let's ask this serious question. Why are they apologizing now? My people, drop opinion in the comment section what you think about this. We move.
And if you ain't figured it out, it was those African kings and queens that converted to Christianity. Christianity that sold other black people into the transatlantic slave trade. So Christianity and its religion is the vehicle at which we were placed in bondage. And it's still a vehicle in which maintains our bondage in the West and on the continent of Africa.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such an extent that you bleach? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate, you should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Free Sudan. Boycott diamonds and gold. Free Sudan. Boycott diamonds and gold. We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.